So welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're grateful to have you here, and hopefully we can spend this next bit of time in a way that is helpful for you and constructive and helps advance your understanding a little bit of our insurance program, but also how we can work together to make sure that we not just protect our parishes, but really make sure that we're engaging in the right level of activities that can really help further the mission of the church. So as we open, I'd like to just start with prayer, and then we can dive right into our content. The Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, thank you for the gift of this day. Thank you for the gift of our parishes and our diocese and the church that you've left us, and that you continue to guide through the Holy Spirit. We ask for your guidance today, ask for wisdom and knowledge as we get into some of these important topics, and pray for all those who are involved in our parish life. Pray for all the families and all the individuals that we serve through our parishes. Help us to reach the hearts that you've prepared for us to reach, Lord, and continue to guide us and inspire us. And we ask in a special way for the intercession of Saint Rita, whose feast day is today, to keep all of us in her prayers and intercede for us. And we ask these prayers in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so our plan for the next little bit, I don't think we'll take up all of your time unless you have lots of questions, but our hope is to really answer a lot of the questions that you may have. But we'd like to do a quick review of some of the key documents related to our insurance for parishes, so that you can get a sense of some of the things that our insurer, Catholic Mutual, wants to see, but also ways that we can really make sure that we have all of our T's crossed and I's dotted and so on when we're getting involved in different events or using our facilities for different purposes outside of what the parish use might be. Just very quickly, just thinking initially early on about, an insurance program in general, every operation needs to assume some level of risk. You can't operate without assuming some type of risk, some level of risk. Every organization then has to have a strategy about how to deal with those risks, which ones it will accept, which ones it will transfer, and this kind of thing. I don't want to dive too much into risk management philosophy, but in our case, as the church, once we open our doors, we accept a certain level of risk. We assume a certain level of risk. And the idea is, how do we transfer the risk that we assume by operating in such a way that we protect the parish itself, we protect the diocese, and we protect Bishop Fabral, who is our bishop, our successor to the apostles, and really is the corporation of the diocese from a legal perspective. In order for us to really take advantages of opportunities that we see as parishes, again, we need to assume some level of risk. And it's managing that risk in such a way that we can really make sure that there's a greater likelihood of a gain from the decisions that we've decided to make rather than a loss. And I don't think I need to remind you of how litigious society has started to get. We see it a lot more in the United States, but it is coming up into Canada, and we see these kinds of claims on a relatively regular basis when there's things that are ordinary slip and falls. They get escalated quite quickly, and they can be destructive to a community if it wasn't for a good insurance program. Our insurance program is unique in the sense that we don't just call, Desjardins, State Farm, whatever it might be, and set up a policy. We have an insurance program under the umbrella of the Ontario Diocese. I won't get into all the specifics of it, but essentially the dioceses work together across Ontario, and we are insured as one entity with Catholic Mutual. Catholic Mutual is not a traditional insurance company. It is actually part of the church. It's based in Omaha. The board of directors includes bishops, cardinals, priests from the area. So they are not some big for-profit corporation that's publicly traded. It is a wing of the church, and we work very closely with Catholic Mutual. And they have given us some great service. So they in Canada serve the Ontario Diocese through the MacDonnell Service Support. I'm sorry, MSSO is the acronym. And also the Archdiocese of Toronto, and then the Archdiocese of Vancouver. They have a number of different dioceses that they serve in the United States as well. And for those on the call who may be one of our business managers or working in part of that function at a parish, the Canadian head, Blair Johnson, is going to be joining us for a meeting in June to talk a little bit more about the insurance program. So I don't want to go too much into the nitty-gritty of the insurance program, just to give you a sense that it is a little bit unique. And in that way, we have an additional responsibility to ensure that we are really following processes and protocols carefully, because by doing so, we're participating fully in the expectations of Catholic Mutual, and also protecting not just the parish, not just the diocese, but all of the other dioceses that are part of this program. It is a complex entity, but it is one that each diocese relies on each other to ensure that we're following proper protocol and practices, and especially when it comes to liability and property issues. Today, we're going to be really looking at more, I think, on the liability side based on some of the agreements and so on. But if there are ever any questions related to insurance in any way, we're happy to talk with you about that, and we're happy to further discuss anything that we may need to kick off to Catholic Mutual. I see there's a question that's come up already.
Yeah, it's regarding the not less $1 million. Now, somebody else brought this up and I couldn't find it. So I know a previous version of the document, it was incorrect, and I thought I had uploaded the new version. So it is $2 million. I'll take a look at that, and we'll get that fixed up.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so Heidi, do you want to show everyone how we will get to the different, and thank you for that question. And that if anybody has any questions throughout the discussion here, please feel free to put it into the Q&A or chat, and we'll certainly leave time at the end for lots of different questions as we go along as well.
Okay, so you're going to want to go to the diocese website, so dol.ca. And then if you scroll to the very bottom, our policies, procedures, and guidelines link is at the bottom. So you click on that. And then we're going to be talking about insurance and facility rentals today. So we're going to click on that section. And we're going to start with the parish hall usage and rental policy. So I'll just bring that up. This is, as you can see, was updated last month. I believe we sent a parish briefing out notifying everyone of the change. The actual document itself, the agreement, is a lot less than what we had before. So just want to go back to the actual policy. There's a lot of questions around who is a parish group and who isn't. So years ago, CWL, Knights of Columbus, St. Vincent de Paul, they were all considered part of the parish. Well, that's no longer the case. They all have their own umbrella conference or association, what have you, and they all have insurance. So they are not considered a parish group anymore. So whenever they're having an event, specifically a Knights of Columbus event, a CWL event, St. Vincent de Paul event, those will all need the new facility usage agreement and the insurance certificate as per the document here. when we're talking about other non-parish events, a parishioner wants to rent the hall for a baby shower or election polling stations, wedding receptions, that kind of thing. We definitely need the agreement and the insurance. Alcoholics Anonymous, that one's a little bit different because many times they can't get the insurance. So you would need to speak with your pastor or business manager about that. But wherever we can, we do like to get that insurance, because if we don't have it, should anything happen, the parish is at risk and responsible. So wherever we can get that insurance, we will try our best to get that. We also offer, we have an agreement with Gallagher Insurance, and they will provide you with a quote. Not you. You can either do it on behalf of somebody who wants to use the hall, or you can provide them with the information. They can do it themselves. So if somebody wants to have a baby shower and they need to get additional insurance, there is a link which I will show you further down in the list of policies where they can go and apply for that insurance. It's fairly reasonable. Within that link, there is also a schedule of pricing. If there's alcohol to be served at any event, then the organizer needs to have a special occasion permit. And as you see right here, you can click on the link to go to the Alcohol and Gaming Commission, and they can fill out a special occasion permit there. Also, we ask that anyone who is serving alcohol have a Smart Serve license. That way, you know what they'll watch for if somebody drinking too much, and they can cut them off and what have you. But the other side of it is, if you're worried about alcohol being served in your hall at any event, then you can say it's not allowed. That's totally up to the pastor or the business manager. If you're not comfortable allowing alcohol, then you just say they can't do it.
And Heidi, I'm just going to jump in because we've got a couple comments and questions, but I also realized I didn't introduce you or myself. And just in case we have some new folks, my name is Andrew Jardine. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the diocese, and Heidi is my administrative assistant, but also our expert on insurance and all of these policies and so on. Heidi is an incredible resource for a lot of this information. So she's a great liaison for you, a great go-to person. A couple comments that just came in. Our AA groups have provided us with their insurance binders from their head office. That's extremely helpful if you can do that. And thank you, Janet. I know that also we've had that experience with some of the CWL and Knights of Columbus, because sometimes there's, I know I spoke with one group of CWL, and they were quite upset about this requirement, but didn't even realize that they actually had insurance already. So they already have insurance. We're just looking for a certificate. And the CWL head office, they totally understood. They're getting this request across the country. So there shouldn't be any significant issue in facing this. And if you have a problem with any of these, getting any of this information, just let us know. So Heidi, for you from Brianna, are funerals exempt from getting the insurance? And I assume it would be the—
Yes, they are. So right here, the third paragraph, funeral luncheons are an exception to the rule, and it's because we consider that a parish event.
That's right.
So along the same lines as that, if Knights of Columbus is doing a fish fry, but it's not the Knights of Columbus fish fry, they're the ones cooking the fish.
Yeah.
It's a parish event. You're raising monies for the parish. They would not require insurance in that case.
That's right.
If it's a parish event, no additional insurance is required.
That's right. And it's so easy for these lines to get blurry, and that's fine. Like that's these as many parishes experience, CWL and nights are such an important part of the life of the parish. So when the lines are getting blurry, we'll work with it. And Catholic Mutual certainly understands this as well. Like, this is not to say we want a clear line in the sand and we've got to have, everything black and white necessarily here. We'll work with the situation. We just need to have an understanding of what kind of an event is happening. And as Heidi said, is it something that the parish has requested, the pastor is directing, there is some level of control by the parish, or are the Knights using it to do a fundraiser for the Knights of Columbus, something along those lines. So if there's questions about that, let us know and we can certainly walk you through it. But Catholic Mutual is very cooperative and understanding of when the lines get a little bit blurry here, and they'll make sure that they do their best to protect the parish's interest too.
And just one more thing about the funeral luncheons.
Yeah.
Most of them don't have alcohol, but as you'll read in that third last paragraph, if alcohol is being served, then they must get a special occasion permit, sign the agreement, and get insurance.
Mm-hmm. So Heidi, another question. What if the bartender does not have SmartServe?
It's not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
They're not trained to handle certain situations with not having a SmartServe license.
Yeah.
It's not a requirement per se by our insurance company, but we are saying the bartender must have a current valid SmartServe. That's a diocesan policy. Just to protect us.
Yeah. Another question. Do we need to get a new agreement for each CWL or Knights of Columbus meeting they hold, or is one agreement listing a year's worth of meetings sufficient?
One is sufficient. You can just attach an addendum, or you can just write in additional that it's monthly, like every third Wednesday evening or something like that. Yeah. Only one agreement per year would be, and you can even go longer than that if you want, as long as they're providing you with an annual certificate of insurance. You can keep the agreement in place for longer than a year if you'd like.
And again, we're happy to review any of those if you'd like another set of eyes on them. What about when we have the Syro-Malabar community celebrate masses in the church itself and or the parish hall?
Well, they're not part of our diocesan insurance program. I don't believe, I'd have to double check that. And if that's the case, then yes, they would need to have insurance.
And again, with a group, for instance, like Syro-Malabar, they will have their own insurance. Mm-hmm. They just may need some assistance tracking it down.
We have other religious communities that use the church facilities, and we have agreements in place, and they provide insurance as well.
Yeah.
If you want more information on that, feel free to reach out.
Got another one for you, Heidi. We knew there'd be lots of questions. This is normal, and these are not uncommon questions. So thank you for asking them, because it helps to sort of filter down the important information. Our hall is attached to our church. The Knights of Columbus uses the hall and another room across from the hall. Liquor is served in the hall, but we understand liquor cannot leave the hall. However, people take their drinks to the other room outside the hall. Is this allowed?
Just so I can get some more clarification, are you just referring to their Knights meetings, like that they have?
We're waiting here on Wendy.
Yeah.
And I would say in general, when you're going to have, while we're waiting for you, when you're going to have something licensed to serve alcohol, we really should stick to the areas that are licensed. Otherwise, we're just getting into more issues. It really should stick to the areas in which they're licensed. And if there's going to be a group that is not able to work within those parameters, then they may not be able to serve.
It's like if we don't have insurance in that case from the Knights of Columbus, and somebody gets in a car and drives,
Yeah,
and they're over the limit, and something happens, we could be liable
yeah,
because they were on our premises drinking that alcohol.
yeah. It's their fish fry and it's open to the public.
Oh, then they would definitely need a special occasion permit.
Yeah,
And if you don't, if they only want alcohol in one of the rooms, then you're going to have to ask them to have somebody responsible
yeah,
to prevent that from occurring when they have their fish fries.
yeah.
That's
Have some
not the
signage up
parish's
and make it clear.
responsibility. That's the Knights of Columbus responsibility to ensure that that happens.
Yeah. And I would make sure as well in that situation, if it is the Knights of Columbus fish fry, not the parish's fish fry, that you get an agreement for the usage of the facility for that purpose, so that it's clear this is a third party that's using the facility, because if there was any kind of incident here, we just need to make sure we protect the parish. So. Okay, there's another question. We'll take one more question, then we'll continue on, but we'll have more time at the end as well. We had an event the first week of October 2023 and had a difficult time getting insurance as the site only allows up to September 30th. Is this due to the insurance annual renewal? Can this be changed? I see it as currently September 2024. I assume this is the Gallagher site.
Oh, yeah, I'd have to look into that. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
we can check up on that, Sean. So thank you for that. We'll follow up with you on that one. Just make a quick note. I assume it's the Gallagher one.
Because
Yes,
our
okay.
insurance year runs from June 1st to May 31st.
Yeah.
So if you have an event that is happening in, let's say, June, well, we have to wait until the new certificate year starts before we can actually get that certificate. So I will look into that, but I highly doubt there's anything we can do to change it.
Okay, sorry, back to you, Heidi.
Okay, so I think I went through pretty much the whole policy there.
And sorry, and the questions here are really important and they just make it much easier. And
Yeah.
the big one is question number 1. Does the parish have control over the group or the function? Is it clearly a parish event? If it's not, then you really need to make sure that you have the right insurance put in place there. And if there's any question about that, then let's work with the group and make sure we get that nailed down. But these questions are newer to the policy that have been put in since the last time, so they're helpful as good guides.
Okay, so and just so you know, the indemnity agreement, there's a fillable version there too. You can just type right into that. And if there's ever any additional terms you want to include, at the very bottom, terms and conditions attached, yes or no, and then you would just attach it and just make sure that both parties initial those to make sure that they form part of the agreement. We kind of covered this in some of the questions. The insurance coverage for non-parish events. We use Gallagher right now. We have an arrangement with them. So you would just click on the link here, the purple link, and that's going to take you to a different portal outside of the diocesan website, and you can apply for a certificate of a private insurance there. There are a list of frequently asked questions in getting the insurance, outside insurance, and then we have estimated pricing. So that's that. And then next, is just a insurance document. It gives you some tips on uh, renting out your hall and safety in terms of do's and don'ts and things to look out for and safety. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. Now, the alcohol piece, you might want to read through that. That's pretty important. Oh, it is right there. They have to be a qualified smart serve. I misspoke earlier. It's not just the diocesan policy, it is Catholic Mutual as well, our insurance company. So you run the risk if you don't have a smart serve person serving the alcohol, then you run the risk of maybe not being covered if something happens because you didn't follow the directions of the insurance company. Okay. And again, if you have any other questions about that, you can reach out to me or the Q&A. Okay. Andrew, you want to cover the parish festivals?
Sure. So parish festivals they just get a little bit more involved because there's a lot more excitement that usually happens with them. There could be different kind of vendors that are coming in for food. We've had festivals with, rides or blow up bouncy castles and things, which we strongly recommend against bringing in because they're just can become just a nightmare to deal with. And I know it sounds like it's good. I've got 6 kids, so I get it. It's great fun for them to be in, but it is a significant risk to take on some of these things. We've had parishes do fireworks for their festivals and so on. Any of those items are covered in this document in terms of what you should do and the kinds of forms and certificates of insurance that they need to make sure that they get. It is a higher risk activity. So it's not to say that we can't do it. It's just to say we need to, as a result, make sure that we have proper coverage in place. Even something like, for instance, fireworks. I had worked with a parish and they were surprised that they should have a licensed technician do fireworks rather than, myself and my neighbor running off, lighting a firework and taking off for cover behind a garbage bin or something. It should be someone that really knows what they're doing, because there's a risk not only to the people involved with the fireworks, but to anybody that might be attending. So it's not to say don't do these things. It's just to say that when we do them, we need to make sure that we do them well. So this is a great document. If you're looking at anything to do with a parish festival as the summer's approaching and so on, have a read through it in advance. If you had any questions about it, let us know. If you had something that didn't show up in here, I don't know what that might be. We can easily follow up with Catholic Mutual and say, here's what we're looking to do. We're going to have, I don't know, bungee cord or something. We're not going to have bungee cord, but something along those lines where it may not actually be in here, then we'll make sure that they can advise us, okay, here's what we need to make sure that we have in place. They're very, very good to make sure that they can advise the type of protocol we need to have in place to ensure that we do get right coverage. Their goal is to provide us with coverage. Their goal is to make sure that they protect us, which is unlike a standard insurance company. So that's why it's working carefully with them. But again, a lot of this information is somewhat similar to the parish hall usage. It's just a little broader and a little bit higher risk because it's often open to the public as well. And there's things outside. It gets a bit more involved. So have a read through it. If you are going to have a parish festival, do it in advance because some of it may require a little bit more time and planning. And we would encourage you to get in touch with us if you're planning a parish festival so that we can make sure that you have everything that we need as well. This is the agreement that every vendor who would be a part of the parish festival needs to sign off on. So they need to do this, whether they're a food truck coming in to lighting fireworks to doing balloon animals, whatever it might be. We just need them to sign this, these forms and to provide us with the proper insurance and so on. There is, just trying to get, sorry, I'm not controlling the thing, but And Heidi, in there, I think there is an example of if they did not have insurance, they would still need to sign off on the indemnity form. But have a look through. We'll make sure that the parish is protected and covered. And then if there are any events towards the end, there's the form that would need to be filled out if there's any kind of incident. Heidi, what else did you want to add to that?
No, well, I think you covered it off pretty much. It's a pretty thorough document.
It is.
So, it's a little much to cover every single item on this platform, but definitely if you have any questions once you read through it, feel free to each reach out to either Andrew or I, and we'll do our best to help you.
Okay, another question came through. So thank you, Wendy. What if the parish picnic is off-site and hosted by the Knights of Columbus? We're getting trickier questions here. What is required, or is the onus on the Knights of Columbus? Should it be called the Knights of Columbus Parish Picnic instead?
No. So if it's a parish event, it's the parish picnic, and the Knights of Columbus are acting on behalf of the parish.
Mhm.
If I'm understanding this correctly, they're not making any money from it. They're just there as volunteers helping out with the picnic. If that's the correct understanding, then the parish would be the ones who should be signing the agreement with whatever municipality the park's in.
Yeah, because ultimately you're going to need, I mean, if you're renting a facility somewhere, park, whatever it might be, I imagine there's going to be an expectation that you have some, okay, so the Knights of Columbus are organizing it, but I guess the question at that point, Wendy, maybe this is something we can talk a bit more about offline, but they might be doing some of the logistics and so on, but are they doing it on behalf and at the direction of the parish? Or are the Knights of Columbus hosting a picnic and inviting the parish to it? And that's where it gets a little bit blurry. And that's okay. We can deal with that, but it just may be making sure that everybody understands that everyone is going to be covered. And in this case, I mean, the Knights of Columbus have insurance coverage. The parish has insurance coverage. It would be a question of who's comfortable signing off on the coverage that would, I mean, I can't imagine going to, if they're going to be using an off-site park, presumably there's going to need to be some type of certificate of insurance provided to whoever runs and owns that park.
Yes, so in a situation like that, I have been involved before. We had a group here in London, a Catholic community. They were having their picnic at one of the parks here in London, and I assisted with getting the proper documentation because many times it has to be the person's responsible for the diocese as a whole, not necessarily just the parish. So if you need us to help you work through that, we can do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we're happy to connect with any of the folks from Knights of Columbus as well, just to make sure we're all on the same, like we want to work together on this, so we want to just make sure we're on the same page. Okay, another question, Heidi. If the parking lot is being used for an event or just a meeting, they still need to sign a facility usage agreement and provide proof of insurance, correct?
It's an outside organization using the parking lot, then yes, I would recommend that they put an agreement in place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's better safe than sorry, that's for sure. And again, this doesn't assume they could be using it for free. It doesn't, I mean, it's not assumed that they're being charged to use the space. It's just the facility usage agreement makes sure that everyone is protected.
Right.
And yes, they would, if it's an outside group, they would need to provide proof of insurance. But again, if it's Knights of Columbus CWO, they already have it. So you may already just have that certificate of insurance in place. Hopefully that's helpful. Okay, back to you, Heidi. Thank you for
Right?
these questions. It makes it,
Yeah, it's good information. Good questions. Um, the hold harmless indemnity agreement, you already saw that there with the policy. Injury accident report form. So if there's an accident, somebody slips and falls, when you have Knights of Columbus doing their fish fry, raising funds for their group, which would be considered a third party. You would fill this out, whether they're a parishioner, whether they're public, whether they're a volunteer, doesn't matter. You would use this injury accident report form, really for anything that happens. Yeah, so for parishioners as well. So
mhm.
any accident that occurs. And whether they say, oh no, they brush themselves off and say, no, no, I'm okay. I just scraped my knee. You'd be surprised how many times we hear that. And then 2 weeks down the road, we're getting a legal letter from the lawyer. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
very important. If you are aware of a slip and fall or an accident of any kind that happened, please report it to Catholic Mutual using this form.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. These are not uncommon claims that come through. It's not just a heightened sense of paranoia about the litigiousness. We're actually seeing it play out, and it can be something as simple as Heidi said, someone tripped on a raised step coming in or out of the church and scraped their knee up, but then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, they've tracked down a lawyer, we're getting a letter, and it just goes off to our insurance. And again, Catholic Mutual handles it extremely well. They're very good, but it's it can cause some big issues when it comes to some of the liability. Some of the claims can be significant. We haven't had any major liability claims related to this, but it can still cost the parish a few $1,000s if we're not careful. A couple of other questions, Heidi. What if our parking lot is used by the public for hockey games and fun fests for parking because the parish is across from the arena?
Well, there's not a whole lot you can really do about it, to be honest. Unless you're going to have somebody out there policing and telling them they can't park there. Um, there's not a whole lot you can do.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we would have if there was an incident on our property, provided we're taking care of our property and fulfilling our duty of care for the property, we would have coverage if there was any particular type of incident or
Well,
if
and you could say, well, they didn't have permission to park there. This is
yeah,
private park property.
yeah. Should this form be used for our employees also, Heidi?
Ooh,
We do have
I don't think so. I think there's a separate one under, let's give me 1 second here.
yeah.
I think there's a separate one. Let me check with Tanya on that.
Yeah.
I thought there was a separate policy or a separate form, but because it doesn't say employees there.
Yeah, no, there'd be a separate
Yeah,
incident policy. We can get back to you on that one,
yeah.
Brianna. Okay, here's another interesting one for you, Heidi. This is like stump Heidi. This is fun for me. We've had the OPP do a commercial vehicle safety blitz using a parking lot at one of our parishes. From what I now understand, should they sign something and have proof of insurance?
Yeah, I would say so. They're
Yeah,
using, whether they're the police or not,
yeah,
they're still using your premises. There should be an agreement and insurance.
yeah.
Yeah.
Next one. What if they asked for permission to use, this is not the police, but let's go back to the folks using the arena. What if they ask for permission to use our parking lot as overflow? Should we allow this? Whose insurance would cover if something occurred?
If you want to allow them permission, I would say only specific people, like you would have to have each vehicle driver sign that, the, where'd it go? The
Okay.
hold harmless and indemnity agreement.
Yeah, and we can that in that situation too, Lisa, we can always check with Catholic Mutual depending on what it is and what's going on, just to confirm um their perspective on that one. So if if you did get a request like that, let us know and we can fire it over just to see what they would want, what kind of form they would want to make sure is covered. So yeah, the lines very quickly get blurred, and there's again in particular because Catholic Mutual's perspective on this is they want to ensure that we do have coverage. So they will err on the side of protecting us rather than denying coverage.
Mhm.
And I mean, because the other thing is we want to be good members of the community. So I mean, it could be a great opportunity to have um, people use a lot, but we just got to make sure we do it properly and do it well. So Lisa, if you had a request like that, we can check with Catholic Mutual on the perspective on that one. Oh, Catholic school across from us uses our parking lot daily for teacher parking. Are they covered under their own insurance? In that situation, we should probably have an agreement with them, Brianna. Uh,
Yes, we should.
So, and we have lots of those types of agreements with schools. And even just to make sure that we have a good relationship with the schools, it's better to have it in black and white. And if you want to get in touch with us, then we can certainly either send you some of those templates or just work out an agreement with the school board on that parking lot. And yeah, they would have their own insurance for sure, but we would just make sure that um, we have everything covered off in an agreement like that.
Now, on that note, we have a few Catholic school boards where we have an ongoing annual insurance coverage
Oh
with an
yes, mute. Yeah.
agreement
Hmm.
whereby any use of the facilities, the parish using the school using the parish, are covered on an annual basis.
Yeah.
And we will be in the next few months, and hopefully before the start of the next school year, hopefully have new agreements. They're quite old, they need to be updated. So, and we're going to reach out to all the Catholic school boards and try and get everyone on board so that going forward, you don't have to worry about the insurance piece. We'll just have to have those simple one-pager agreements
Yeah.
in place for the use of each other's facilities.
Yeah. Okay. Back to you, Heidi. Thank you again for all the questions. This is
Yeah,
helpful. And I appreciate we may
this
not
is
be
good.
giving full some answers to some of these, but we can certainly follow back up with you. And we'll include our contact information at the end if you don't have it as well. Actually, I'll put that in the chat while you go on there, Heidi.
Okay. Protocols for emergencies in a parish.
Okay.
Oh, that needs to be updated. Dave Savell is no longer here. So I will update that. But the gist of the document, the protocol itself, is all the same. Just you would have to contact Andrew. So I will update that and get that updated by the end of the week. So yeah, bodily harm, if there's emergencies, um, who to contact. Of course, you contact police first. If there's been harm to an individual, call an ambulance and then let us know and the insurance company. If there is property damage, which for the most part, parishes are pretty good on that. If a good bad windstorm and the tree falls onto the garage or what have you, everybody is pretty good at letting us know. Um, Dino's the main contact, but if you let myself know or Andrew know, we all work very closely together. So, um, Okay, and Catholic Mutual's phone number is there. You can contact them directly too. So any questions on that protocol?
No, looks okay.
All right, then the rest of the documents there are all for elections. So, and of course, we have a different one for municipality, for Ontario, and for Canada.
Mhm.
So as it sits right now, those are the current polling place agreements to be used. If there is any updates, we will be notified by Catholic Mutual because they work directly, well, at least with federal and provincial. They work directly with Catholic Mutual to update those.
Yeah, and there was I guess a couple of months ago, there's a flurry of activity from Elections Canada, because there was a thought that the NDP agreement with the Liberals was going to not be renewed and there would be another election. So at that point, we confirmed with Catholic Mutual that the agreements that are online are still up to date and valid, and they said yes, they are. But as Heidi said, once we actually are moving into an election in some way, then we will get, if there's any changes, Catholic Mutual will be the first to contact us to make sure that we have the proper forms and so on. And they're generally not too complicated. So, and a lot of what Elections Canada and Ontario and so on have, it's pretty standard, the standard rates they pay for things and standard insurance and so on. So, if anyone has been contacted or have questions about this, we can certainly work through that too. Heidi, here's a question for you. We have given permission to someone who drives a school bus to park overnight on one of our lots. What should we have them sign?
I would say the hold harmless agreement.
Yeah, I would say that too. Yeah. That's probably that'll just give you the best bet. It'll have you the most
Because they're
coverage.
not going to be able to give you insurance.
No, no.
So it's kind of doing them a favor. But yeah, if they can just sign that agreement, then it's like a waiver. So
Yeah.
okay, and then last thing there is just links for the special occasion permit, and that just takes you directly to the Alcohol and Gaming Commission's website. You will have, if you're doing it for someone, you will have to create a username and password. It's probably better if you can get, if it's a third party, like a parishioner holding some kind of a reception or what have you. It'd be
Mhm.
a lot better if they could do it themselves
Yeah.
instead of you doing it for them.
And any instance related to liabilities related to employees and so are covered as part of our insurance as well. So if there was an incident related to an employee, or there's also, it gets a little blurry with volunteers as well, but provided that the pastor has assigned a particular role or duty to a volunteer who is competent and has the expertise to take care of the job that they've been assigned and has the training, then they would also be covered as a volunteer. So for instance, if you were to someone needed to change a light bulb and get up on a ladder, they were, they had some training to be up on a ladder. They were physically capable of being up on the ladder. They were assigned the work to change a light bulb. It sounds excessive, but it's just trying to make sure that if they go up there, change a light bulb as a volunteer and come back down, and we've made sure we've done our due diligence, and we're not looking to have some big form signed out, but just to have some sense that they didn't do this on their own accord. They were asked to do this by the pastor or the pastor's delegate and the business manager, whoever it might be. And they did it safely and they were capable of doing it. The flip side would be if you have someone who, was not physically capable of climbing up the ladder, had never changed a light bulb before, any number of different factors, then we're not doing our proper due diligence to make sure that it's someone that can actually accomplish the work that's been assigned to them. Oh, we got another question. We have 2 halls that we rent, but with no hall managers. There's no one there during the event. Is it necessary to have someone there the whole time?
No. Whoever you have the agreement with, they're responsible for the event.
Just giving a couple minutes in case someone had some other questions. Oh. We also have some neighbors who park regularly on our lots. Is that an issue?
Uh, you know what? I would say leave it alone. Like if they're just like they don't cause you any harm and we're not gonna it's no different than let's say me leaving my car at the Walmart parking lot and carpooling with somebody to go somewhere and I've left my car there. They don't go after me and look to me for that. So same kind of deal. I really wouldn't bother with if you have neighbors who park there.
Yeah. Yeah, and if there was concerns about any of this, we can certainly, if the neighbors were causing an issue or for whatever it
Yeah.
might be, we can get Catholic Mutual involved in that just to make it a little bit more formal. But if it's just more casual use like that, and everyone is aware of what's going on, again, kind of a blurry gray issue, but Catholic Mutual will find a way to protect us. Yeah, you could charge them rental, Deacon Jim. Whole new revenue stream. And you got to get a parking lot license and all that kind of stuff. But okay, I'm mindful of time. It's 25 after 2. Heidi, are you able to? I thought I could put in the chat how to reach us, but maybe I'll just type an answer under the last question that was here, just to give our.
I don't know that everybody would see it though.
Oh, okay. Let's test it out and see.
Oh, some panelists. Oh, everyone. Here we go. Okay. I got it, I think. I'm just putting it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Oh shit, I put the wrong number. Made a mistake. I think a lot of people already know the number 433-0658 and 229 for me. And then emails, of course, are first initial, last name at dol.ca.
Okay, another couple of interesting questions here. Does anyone who uses the kitchen require a food handler certificate?
Okay, so within the, let me just get there. Parish Festivals and Events Guidelines. There is a section on food. Just 1 second here. Food. So it talks here about people using the kitchen in there. So I guess I can't totally answer that right now, but if you read through that and you have any questions, please reach out to us.
And when we met with Catholic Mutual, I don't know, a couple of months ago, they came to town, so we had a few discussions with them about this as well. And again, it's a recommendation that if someone's preparing food in the kitchen, they have a food handler certificate. It's a recommendation. If they're acting within the parish on behalf of the parish, it's not necessarily a requirement because it's not necessarily a public event that people are walking in off the street for. So it would be within a parish event. Now, going back to the gray area and blurred lines, let's think about a fish fry, for instance, and is it open to the whole community or is it just the parish? A blurry one again. So we can, if you had questions about that and wanted us to follow up with Catholic Mutual for their perspective, you can send us the details. We'll fire it off to them, and once we get an answer from them, then we know for sure what their perspective would be. And it does vary depending on the area, but in general, if it's recommended. If you have someone that can have a food handler certificate, it is recommended. I mean, we don't want to be in a situation where there's anyone that's getting sick from food that's prepared or not handled properly. Think about my parish. We've had alpha dinners and things like that where there's great food prepared and for meals. It may not be necessary to have a food handler certificate, but we want to make sure that we're still meeting the guidelines that are in and they're listed in one of the forms there online as well for proper handling of food and internal temperatures and that kind of thing.
And also your local health unit too. You need
Yes,
to
for sure.
find out what their requirements are as well.
Yeah, and within a religious institution, there is not the requirement that they would have, for instance, like I said, with a restaurant. And particularly, I think they were anticipating issues when it came to funerals or different celebrations internally. And we followed up with at least the Middlesex Health Unit, and they confirmed that for us that if a religious organization falls outside of what the expectation would be for someone else. But again, it's a recommendation, but not necessarily a black and white requirement. Another question, is there a guideline what kind of events can happen in a parish hall? For example, a parent-to-parent fundraiser for the Catholic school. So on that point, there's not a black and white guideline. However, in the facility usage agreement, would you mind pulling it up, Heidi?
Yeah.
I think you know what section I'm referring to. So if you scroll, I think it's the third. So if you look on the last or the second to last paragraph from the bottom, this is an important part. The licensee acknowledges that the premises may in no event be used for any purpose which is unlawful or contrary to the practices or teachings on matters of faith and morals of the Roman Catholic Church as interpreted by the bishop of the diocese. That's a really important point to include in the facility usage agreement, because it protects us and it's advertised in advance for someone who might book the hall and then they decided to use it for some kind of event that the church would not sanction or be in favor of. So we need to know what the purposes of the event are in advance. And then when they sign this agreement to use the hall, they're signing off to say they are affirming that the event that they're going to hold is not in contravention of any of our church teachings. So that is as broad as the guidelines are. A parent-to-parent fundraiser for that Catholic school seems like it'd be pretty acceptable event within a parish hall, but again, probably speak with the pastor about that to see how they want the facility to be used as well.
And keeping in mind with something like that, if you already have insurance coverage through the Catholic School Board, it most likely does not cover a parent-to-parent evening because they're acting on behalf of their children as parents, not acting on behalf of the school board. So that would be separate.
Yeah, so that would be one we'd probably want to get some clarity on, and particularly if the school, if it's the school council or something like that. But if it's an independent group of parents working together, we just want to make sure there's proper coverage. Because as Heidi said, we do have reciprocal agreements. We could probably work it out in such a way that the school could have some level of involvement. But again, we want to make sure that we would work closely with them to enable the event. Like to go back to that first point about assuming risk, we have to assume some level of risk. So how do we manage it properly to make sure that everyone's protected, including any of the parents that might be involved in an event like this, right? We want to make sure that, and they want to be aware that they're not going to be personally liable for anything that might happen. When the schools use our halls for grad dinner and dance, they must submit insurance and sign the agreement. So it depends on the school board, Wendy, and you can contact us and we can just check to see that we have a reciprocal agreement. They may not need to submit insurance for that.
I don't have one for Essex.
Oh, that's in this. Okay, yeah. So in that case, you'd want a certificate of insurance and the agreement, Wendy. I'm not sure. It's up to you if you'd be charging for use of the facility, but certainly the agreement would be helpful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And these kinds of questions, like I said, they're not uncommon and they're not black and white. So feel free to ask them and send us an email, give us a call. It's why we're here, and we liaise regularly and deal with the insurance companies on a regular basis. We also, on the other side, see claims come through, so we can tell you, yeah, this is something that you legitimately should be concerned about, because you'd be surprised at some of the claims that actually come through, and people, some of the minor injuries they've had, some of the circumstances that have caused some of these injuries. It's a very real thing, unfortunately, but we're happy to walk with you and make sure that you have a good understanding and have taken all the steps you need to make sure that you're protected and the parish is protected. I see it's just past 2:30, so I don't want to hold anyone on for longer than this, although it's been really, the webinar format is a little bit tricky because it's not as much of a conversation. So thank you for sending in the questions in this way. It makes it a little easier for the recording, but we're always available and we're happy to chat and answer any other questions that may come up. Like I said, if you're joining our business manager meeting in June, then Catholic Mutual will be there as well, and they can answer some more questions. Hopefully you've had a chance to meet some of the reps from Catholic Mutual, and they can explain a bit more about their program and also how we work within it so that they can enable the work that we do, which ultimately is all about ministry, proclaiming the good news and saving souls. So it's the very best work that you could be involved with, and they'll make sure that we can do it well and are protected. So thank you everyone for joining us. I look forward to connecting with you again soon. And if you have questions, concerns, feedback, please let us know. We'd be happy to hear from you.